Chocolate. It's one of the most beloved foods on earth, a universal treat, a comfort, a craving, and for some, a daily ritual. But despite how common it is, most people have never stopped to ask, where does chocolate really come from? How does something so smooth, sweet, and indulgent start its life? Because here's the truth. Chocolate is one of the most complicated foods we consume. It doesn't come off a tree ready to eat. In fact, raw chocolate tastes terrible, bitter, dry, and almost inedible. To turn it into something delicious, to go from bitter beans to silky bars, requires a journey filled with harvesting, fermentation, roasting, grinding, tempering, and molding. It's messy, it's precise, and it's way more intense than most people ever imagine. This is how chocolate is really made. It all begins with a fruit, the cacao pod. These football-shaped pods grow directly on the trunks and branches of cacao trees, found in tropical climates close to the equator, places like Ghana, Ivory Coast, Ecuador, Indonesia, and Brazil. Each pod is filled with cacao beans, about 20 to 50 per pod, suspended in a sweet, sticky white pulp. Farmers harvest the pods by hand, using machetes or hooked knives on long poles. There's no machine that can do it better. Once harvested, the pods are cracked open. The beans are scooped out along with the pulp and placed in shallow boxes or banana leaf-lined baskets. And this is where the real transformation begins, with a step most people don't even realize happens: fermentation. Yes, chocolate is fermented, and it's crucial. During fermentation, natural microbes break down the sugary pulp and trigger a series of complex chemical reactions inside the bean. This process takes anywhere from 5 to 7 days, and it's responsible for creating the rich, complex flavor precursors that give chocolate its depth. Without fermentation, chocolate would taste flat and sour. The beans are turned periodically to ensure even fermentation, and by the end, they've turned from pale and gooey to dark brown and aromatic, but they're not ready yet. Next comes drying. The beans are spread out under the sun, usually on raised wooden racks or concrete patios, and dried for about a week. This step reduces their moisture content from about 60% down to less than 7%. Any more moisture and mold becomes a serious issue during transport. Once dry, the beans are packed into jute bags and shipped, often thousands of miles, to chocolate factories around the world. At the factory, the beans go through sorting and cleaning. Machines remove twigs, stones, and any debris from the fields. The beans are then graded by size and quality, and the best batches move on to roasting. Roasting is where the magic happens. The beans are heated to around 250 to 300 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the desired flavor profile. This step deepens the chocolate aroma and develops the characteristic notes, from nutty and fruity to bitter and bold. But there's a delicate balance. Too little roasting and the flavor is weak. Too much and it turns smoky or burnt. Once roasted, the beans are cooled and sent to the winnowing machine. This machine cracks the shells and separates them from the nibs, the inner part of the bean that's used to make chocolate. The nibs are where all the flavor lives. They're rich in cocoa solids and cocoa butter, the two essential components of chocolate. Now comes one of the most fascinating steps: grinding. The nibs are crushed using massive stone or steel rollers into a thick, oily paste called chocolate liquor. Despite the name, there's no alcohol here. Liquor just means liquid. The heat from grinding melts the cocoa butter naturally present in the nibs, turning them into a smooth brown paste. This paste is the foundation of all chocolate products, from dark chocolate bars to cocoa powder. At this stage, the chocolate can be separated or modified in several ways. For cocoa powder, the liquor is pressed to remove most of the cocoa butter, leaving behind a dry cake that's ground into fine powder. For chocolate bars, the liquor is blended with additional cocoa butter, sugar, and sometimes milk solids, depending on whether the chocolate is dark, milk, or white. And now comes the step that defines high-quality chocolate from cheap chocolate: conching. Conching is a process where the chocolate mixture is kneaded and mixed for hours, sometimes days, in specialized machines. This step smooths out the texture by breaking down particles and evenly distributing fat. It also removes unwanted acids and volatile compounds, mellowing the flavor. Some chocolate is conched for 8 hours. Premium varieties can be conched for over 72 hours. The longer it conches, the silkier and smoother the chocolate becomes. At the end of conching, the chocolate is velvety and delicious, but it still isn't ready for molding. That's because the cocoa butter, the fat, is unstable. If left alone, it will crystallize in random patterns, leading to chocolate that's dull, crumbly, or coated in white streaks called bloom. To prevent this, factories use a process called tempering. Tempering is the careful heating, cooling, and reheating of chocolate to specific temperatures that encourage the formation of stable cocoa butter crystals. These crystals give chocolate its glossy finish, firm snap, and smooth mouthfeel. The process is incredibly precise. Too hot or too cold by just a few degrees, and the chocolate will lose its structure. Once tempered, the chocolate is finally ready for molding. It's poured into molds, bar molds, truffle molds, novelty shapes, and passed through cooling tunnels that quickly solidify the product without disturbing the crystal structure. The bars are popped out, inspected for cracks or defects, and wrapped at high speed using foil, paper, or plastic packaging, depending on the brand and market. From there, they're boxed, shipped, and stocked on shelves all over the world. But chocolate doesn't end there. Some factories create filled chocolates, like truffles or caramel bars. These require a second round of tempering and molding, where hollow shells are cast, filled with cream or liquid centers, and then sealed with more chocolate. Others produce chocolate chips, which are dropped in perfect drops onto a chilled conveyor belt and solidified into tiny morsels. Still others make coated items, like chocolate-covered almonds, where the center is tumbled in a rotating drum as chocolate is slowly added, layer by layer. No matter the shape, it all begins with a bitter bean, a fermentation box, and a roast. So let's recap. Your favorite chocolate bar started as a cacao pod in a rainforest. It was harvested, fermented, dried, shipped, roasted, cracked, ground, conched, tempered, molded, and wrapped. It passed through the hands of farmers, chemists, engineers, and machines operating at microscopic precision, all so that you could snap off a piece and enjoy something sweet. The next time you bite into chocolate, remember, you're tasting more than sugar. You're tasting soil, sun, fermentation, heat, motion, and time. That's the process. And now you've seen every step. This is Process Uncovered, where the ordinary gets extraordinary. If you just said, "I never knew that," even once, hit subscribe. We have more behind-the-scenes journeys on the way, into the things you use, eat, and wear every single day. Drop a comment with what you want us to uncover next. And until then, enjoy the sweet side of the process. Thanks for watching.